bulkhead. What is that called?
A forward operating base?
Yeah, for what is it called when you're
staging an invasion?
Yeah,
Um,
like in Normandy. First you have to land and you have to
Right.
take up positions on ground.
you set up a base,
Huh?
like a forward
Yeah,
operating
but
base.
well, not forward. No, it's not forward operating.
Beachhead?
Beachhead, yeah, exactly, like a beachhead. You have to land. The hardest part is actually getting on land, because that's when you're most vulnerable if you're trying to take up positions on the ground. But once you take up positions on the ground, once the kuffar take positions in Libyan territory, then basically it becomes extremely hard to fight them. So it says, and then he says, they will come from the direction of the west, from the direction of Antapolis. Pentapolis is the eastern half of Libya, and then it says فتأتي 100 ثم 100 حتى عد 700, and they will come 100 ships, then 100, and he kept counting until he counted 700 ships in groups of 100. Now we'll go into the details of why this 100 plus 100 plus 100, how this was told.
Sequence?
These waves of ships coming in slowly, one after the other, trying to set up a beachhead on Muslim Libyan territory. So that's one hadith. There's another hadith that also says the same thing, that the Malhama, the Battle of Alexandria, is not in Egypt. It's actually in Libya, and it's the following. ذكر ابن وهب عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص أنه قيل له بالإسكندرية إن الناس قد فزعوا فأمر بسلاحه وفرسه فجاء رجل فقال من أين هذا الفزع؟ قال سفن تراءت من ناحية قبرص. قال انزعوا عن فرسي. قال قلنا أصلحك الله إن الناس قد ركبوا. فقال ليس هذا بملحمة الإسكندرية إنما يأتون من ناحية المغرب من ناحية أنطابوليس فيأتي 100 ثم 100 حتى عدد 900. Yeah, this is clearly the same narration as the other, through a different route, through a different sanad, because there are some slight variations. And I'll translate. Ibn Wahb mentioned, narrated from Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, from Abdullah, the son of Amr ibn al-As, the famous companion of the Prophet ﷺ, who was a governor and wali over Egypt during the conquests. He was told while he was in Alexandria, the people have panicked, and he ordered his weapon and his horse. And a man came to him, an informer, and he asked him, where is this panic coming from? Where is this fear coming from? The man responded, ships that have been sighted from the direction of Cyprus. And Abdullah ibn Amr al-As said, dismount, help me dismount from my horse. And the people said to him, the rest of the army, the rest of the men said, may Allah guide you. The people have mounted and are ready for battle. And he responded, this is not the Battle of Alexandria. Again, that the Prophet ﷺ had warned us about. إِنَّمَا يَأْتُونَ مِنْ نَاحِيَةِ الْمَغْرِبِ. Rather, they will come from the direction of the west, not from the northern direction of Cyprus. The ships will come by sea from the direction of the west. From the direction, مِنْ نَحْوِ Antapolis, from the direction of Pentapolis, eastern Libya. And they shall come 100, then 100, until he counted 900. Here it counts 900 ships. In the other one it counted 700. The difference, of course, is one of the narrators forgot the exact number. So that's two narrations now that verify the fact that the Malham of Alexandria is in eastern Libya, since eastern Libya is part of modern-day Libya. So it would be an invasion of eastern Libya is an invasion of all Libya.
Well, the cities are all pretty much on the coast anyway. So I mean,
that's the same country. If the kuffar are going to invade, they don't really care whether they invade eastern Libya or they invade western Libya. Okay, that's one. Now there's another narration that's completely different. Well, the language is somewhat completely different. And the Arabic is the following for those who want to Google this and recover the sanad and the full narration and what book it's narrated in. And it says, and Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, the narration actually just says, and Abdullah ibn Amr, قال ملحمة الإسكندرية تقبل الروم من نحو أنطابوليس حتى إذا بلغوا منحر البردون من أرض لوبية بلغ صاحب الإسكندرية خبرهم فيبعث إليهم مجنبته فلا يرجعون إليه حتى ينزل الروم الإسكندرية فيا ليتني لحيق قريش يومئذ يومئذ هنا فأقول يا أحمق احبس عليك خيلك فإنهم يغشونك. Okay, now here again it's all about the location. Where does the Malham of Alexandria take place? It says from Abdullah, the son of Amr ibn al-As, he said, the Battle of Alexandria, the prophesied Battle of Alexandria, the Romans will come from the direction of Antapolis, Pentapolis, eastern Libya, until they arrive at a place called Manhar al-Bardun. Bardun is mules, Manhar is a place of slaughter, place of the slaughterhouse of mules. But this is just a transliteration. Allah knows best. If someone might be able to find what it refers to. It's actually a location. It seems like it's a location. Manhar al-Bardun, the slaughterhouse of mules, in a land called Libya, which is the ancient Arabic name for Libya. So here it actually says Libya outright.
It explicitly says Libya.
Exactly.
From Pentapolis, from Antapolis to a place in Libya.
Yeah.
Explicitly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then when this happened, and it also mentions here something that we need to know, that we see the first time, that it's Romans, that it's European kuffar who are the invaders in the Malhama of Alexandria. Okay? And until they will come from the Romans will come from the direction of Pentapolis until they reach the slaughterhouse of mules, a place called the slaughterhouse of mules in the land of Libya. The news will reach the ruler of Alexandria. Their news, or the news of the invasion, will reach the ruler of Alexandria, and he shall send to them Mujannabata. I think Mujannabata means his flanking army. But in this case, the language is simply that he sends his troops or his mujahideen sideways. Sideways means along the coast. That is coastal fighting.
Right.
Yeah. فَلَا يَرْجِعُونَ إِلَيْهِ, and they shall, and his flanking army will not return to him until the Romans descend in Alexandria. But remember that it's not in Alexandria. The name of Alexandria here is used as the capital, the ancient capital of that whole region, because the province of Cyrenaica or of Pentapolis was subsidiary to Alexandria. So when you say Alexandria, it's only saying it by extension.
So it's not explicitly
It's not
the city of Alexandria,
exactly.
it's the province itself.
Exactly.
Of which Libya and Antapolis were part of that province.
That's right,
in ancient times.
Yeah, so when he says Alexandria, it's actually referring to Libya. As far as the specific spot, the specific location of the invasion, the landing, and the place where to basically face off this Kafir landing. And
the
to
Hadith
stop
have
them
already pointed out that it's in Libya and Antapolis.
several times. So it is beyond a shadow of a doubt that the danger during the Malham of Alexandria is from Libya. It's from the Romans making a maritime landing, a naval landing at Libya. Specifically, actually, at eastern Libya, which is exactly where they're trying to land, on the rebel side, on the Mujahideen side, as opposed to the Gaddafi side.
Right.
And so we continue. So it says, in the land of Libya, their news, I mean, the news of the Roman invasion landing, will reach the ruler of Alexandria, and he shall send towards them his flanking divisions, and they shall not return to him until the Romans descend in Alexandria. And then Abdullah ibn Amr, Abdullah son of Amr, he says, I wish I would reach Quraysh that day. That means he wished he would be alive at that time, so he could reach Quraysh that day. يومئذ فأقول, so that I would say to them, I would warn them, يا أحمق احبس عليك خيلك. O madman, keep your cavalry with you. They are trying to deceive you. Now, what is it? Let's put in the dots on the I's. He's saying, Abdullah ibn Amr says, I wish I were alive at that time, so that I would tell the ruler of Alexandria, but remember this is the ruler of Libya.
Right.
That and the reason he says lahiqu, that I would reach, or that I would give help, that I would be the helper of Quraysh. The word Quraysh here, it's not Quraysh, is in Quraysh. The word Quraysh, because at the time of the companions, they had been told by the Prophet that all the rulers of the Ummah would be from Quraysh. Well, they understood it this way, but it's actually not the correct understanding. What it said is that the best rulers of the Ummah, 12 of them, would all be from Quraysh. But a lot of the narrators, a lot of the early Muslims, they assumed that that's what it meant. And at that time, all of the rulers of the Ummah, East, West, Andalusia, everywhere you went, were from Quraysh. The Abbasids, the Umayyads, just about everywhere you went in the early, certainly at the time of the companions.
Right.
The Khulafa al-Rashidin were all from Quraysh, the Umayyads were Quraysh. So they just they assumed that the leader is automatically from Quraysh. And the Quraysh was automatically the leadership. So he said, when he says, I wish that I would be the helper of Quraysh that day, he means I would be the helper of the leader. That I would be an advisor, that I would be able to advise the leader that day. Do you understand this is not just from here. We find the same problem in other hadiths, where they use the word Quraysh to mean the leadership. So that one, I'll let someone else do the analysis, inshallah. But that's the conclusion, and it is based in other hadiths. We just don't have time to get into it. So he says, I wish I were that day the helper or the advisor of the leader, meaning the leader of Libya. Now, which leader? Considering today that we have two leaderships in Libya, we'll find out later. He says, and I would tell him, "Oh madman, ya ahmaq." So this is someone that the Prophet doesn't describe as being a madman.
So basically the leader that he's referring to is the leader who's the madman.
That everybody looks at and says he's a madman. Keep your cavalry, means your army, with you, because the Romans are trying to deceive you. Now, what is going on here? It means basically, remember that the leader sent an army on his flank, Mujannabati, sideways. We'll find from other hadiths actually exactly what happened here. It describes it in detail. What happened is that he divided his army into two. He kept some with him, and he sent some to face off against the Romans before they land. So Abdullah ibn Amr, as a military strategist, is saying, don't do that. It's a trick. Don't divide your cavalry, your army. Keep them all with you. They're trying to deceive you. They're making do like they're trying to land somewhere else, so you can divide your cavalry, send it over there, and then you're weaker. Do you understand this?
Right.
Now, the important thing here is that, however, there's a problem here, and we'll deal with it later on. But I'll mention it here because I don't know if we'll get to it. Is that I believe that Abdullah ibn Amr, he had good intention. And we'll see in other hadith that the Prophet actually, in his words, he was saying that this madman of Libya, this mad leader of Libya, is actually a deceiver. Abdullah ibn Amr thinks that he needs to advise this creep, but that creep is actually doing what he did because he's a deceiver.
So the actual madman himself is the deceiver.
He's a deceiver. And we'll go to that hadith. Okay, let me check off the ones that we've talked about. So we have the location, and now we're getting into the events of what actually happened. Now, when does the Malhama of Alexandria happen? And how do we know that this might be the time, although only Allah Azza wa Jalla knows? For that we have to go to these other two hadiths, and I'll read them right now. عن عبد الله بن عمرو قال إذا رأيت دهقانين من دهاقين العرب هربا إلى الروم فذلك علامة وقعة الإسكندرية. Translation. From Abdullah, son of Amru, he said, if you see two tyrants of the tyrants of the Arabs escaping to the Romans, that is the sign of the Battle of Alexandria. That's one. Here's another narration confirming that one. سمعت عبد الله بن عمرو يقول علامة ملحمة الإسكندرية إذا رأيتم دهقانين من دهاقين العرب خرجا إلى الروم فهو علامة ملحمة الإسكندرية. Here it specifically calls it ملحمة الإسكندرية. In the other one it calls it وقعة, the battle. Here it's actually it's the same exact language, except it uses the word malhama. So we know that it fits in with the group of prophecies concerning